thanks for joining us. In February of 2019, I went to Atlanta to a training with the Centers for Disease Control and the Alliance for a Healthier Generation. And so we are in a partnership with the CDC, with the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, as well as our Missouri State Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE. So to provide some trainings and some information for after-school programs around healthy eating and physical activity. So this little series has come out of that partnership with those organizations. Laura Beckman is on the call. She doesn't have her camera on, but Laura is with DESE, and Stephanie and I. So I went in February of 2019. Stephanie went, I think, in like April.
Yeah, late April, beginning of May.
Yeah. And then Laura, if you can just say hello, then that will kind of move you to the front of the screens. And if you can kind of tell us, go ahead, Laura, if you can tell us what you do at DESE. It may not have a mic. We can't hear you, Laura. You're unmuted, but. Can't hear you. But Laura's with DESE. Maybe you can type it in the chat box what your role is. Physical education is kind of where she lives in that world within DESE. So Stephanie and I have worked with Laura for the last year or so, and working on some different things. And so we've put this series together to help us understand what it means to have some healthy eating and physical activities incorporated into our programming with our kids. So just to kind of give you that background of where we have come from on this. So today is just an overview of what those HEPA standards are. Just those of you that have your cameras on, by show of hands, did you know that there were standards for healthy eating and physical activity in after-school programs? So yeah, good. A few of you. Good. So we're just today's going to be an overview of those HEPA standards. And that will be a launching pad for the next couple of weeks. So next week on June 16th, which is next Tuesday, we're going to talk about community and family engagement around healthy eating and physical activities. So some things to incorporate community partners, some things that we can do to help families in this area kind of eat better and incorporate some physical activity within their families. And then on the 23rd, we're going to talk about after school and kind of reducing some barriers for including these healthy eating and physical activities into our programs, and what are some things that we'll come up against, and maybe some ideas of how to overcome those barriers and move past those. So that's kind of where we started with this in February of 2019, and then kind of where we've gotten to now in June of 2020. So Stephanie, I'm going to turn this over to you, and Stephanie's going to guide us through this, and we'll have a little breakout discussion kind of when we get to the end, and to hear from some of you as well. So Stephanie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Hello. So I work in a program down in Lakeway, Missouri, and kind of boots on the ground type deal. I run an after-school program. A little background, just because I think it's important, is our entire district is 620 students. That's pre-K through 12th grade. Their physical activity in elementary, they get one PE class a week. And then in middle school and high school, they kind of evolve and they get it once a day. I run a 21st century grant program, and I'm a huge proponent for healthy eating and physical activity kind of all around. I apologize for my child getting in trouble. This is what happens when we've been home for 3 months, I feel like. And so dad's handling them because mom has to work. So this is super fun. All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can see. Just kind of, we did a little slide so you guys can see. Don't mind my okay, so hang on one second. Okay, back to the beginning. Okay, so today and for the next couple weeks, we're going to hit Connect and Learn. And we're going to talk a lot about the HEPA standards and out of school time learning. And I really wasn't aware of all of these HEPA standards until I started to research them a little bit. So I wanted to give you guys kind of an idea of what they are. So they were developed back in, kind of started in 2009, and here is your general timeline. They were really developed and put in 2011 with the National AfterSchool Association, working with the CDC and the Alliance for Healthier Generation, kind of break down. And really the standards were put in place so that we can work with all of out of school time professionals and how to build this inclusion with the school day, with healthy eating and that physical activity, since we tend to have a lot of these students out of their typical day. So a little breakdown, HEPA, healthy eating and physical activity, created in 2011. There are 5 standards, and each standard then has subcategories inside of it. We're not going to go into all of the different subcategories. There are a lot of them, but we're going to kind of give you a breakdown of these standards. All of these standards are recommendations. They're not requirements. And so the whole point of having standards is to help support our programs in the out of school time. And essentially the whole point of us having a program is to better service our students. So these are just kind of guidelines and kind of ways for us to better service our kiddos. So the 5 different standards, there's content and quality, staff training, social supports, program supports, and environmental supports. So first standard is content and quality. And inside of that standard, it's going to break down food and beverage choices, recommendations for which items to provide in our out of school time platform. So it'll say things like, you know, not sugary substances, ensuring that the foods that you're choosing to serve your students meet all of these, you know, federal dietary guidelines. We probably shouldn't serve them ice cream and soda every single day. Probably not going to be the healthiest option. Making sure we have water readily available for the students, and it kind of breaks it down. These are all of the items they recommend. Inside of that content and quality, it also talks about physical activity, not only planned time, but talks about moderate and vigorous physical activity based on the number hour of your program. If you have a program that's 1 hour, you know, it will recommend 10 to 15 minutes. If you have a program that's 3 hours, it will recommend 20 to 30 minutes. And then it'll have a breakdown of, you know, this is how much we recommend for moderate to vigorous physical activity. And then what I found really interesting with this is it also talks about timeframes for technology use, and talks about technology use for homework based on the total number of hours for out of school time. I know personally in our district, we do like a tech-free Friday. And that's become a really popular thing for us because we're so tech heavy in school now that oftentimes when we get to that out of school time, we have found a lot of value in taking a step back from adding in all of that added technology and planning in additional physical activity time. We've seen a decrease in our students' behaviors. We've seen an increase in the positivity and the way that they're interacting with one another. And so we feel that there's a good correlation between the two. Second standard is all about staff training. So kind of gives you an overview and then breaks it down. Talks about these are ways in order for us to move forward on these HEPA standards. So your staff members get training provided on healthy eating and physical activity. They'll also receive guidance on positive techniques to work with students. So we don't want to, you need to eat healthy and you need to not eat these things. And this is not what you're supposed to be doing, rather than finding a way to encourage them to make better choices. So modeling behavior, modeling that physical activity, bringing your water bottle with you every single day, finding ways to be positive with our students, we have found is incredibly important. That third standard, social supports. So really this big one talks a lot about positive promotion of physical activity and these healthy eating. So rather than talk about, any of our like nutrition choices, it talks a lot about staying in that positive realm and gives you a really good breakdown in that standard of what it would look like. These guideline really talks about, and I am a big believer in this is when our staff is actively participating in physical activity and healthy eating within our school day. So we're providing and modeling that behavior, we have a better outcome of our students essentially buying into what we're talking about. It's a lot about, just, you can't just tell them you want them to be this way, you have to model that for them. So if I'm telling my students, you probably shouldn't be drinking energy drinks, it's really not good for your heart, and I think water would do better, and I come in with a bang and I come in with a Red Bull every day, we're not modeling that image, what we want them to be doing. The other really important one, I thought this was really interesting, was it supports the idea of not using food as a reward or as a punishment. A lot of times we understand that our students only get fed in their district. And so if our students are only being fed in the school day and in and out of a school time, when we remove food as a reward and we make it isn't fair to these kids, and that's kind of not really an ethical choice for us to do. So we don't want to use food as a punishment for them or as a reward, that you only get this healthy, nutritious food if you do X, Y, and Z. We want to offer it to them all the time. So program supports kind of goes, it's like that hierarchy. So now we're talking a lot about the structure of the program and that leadership within. So when you're budgeting your program, do you budget in for having a cooking program, right? So are you putting in your budget the ability to provide food for a cooking program? Are you budgeting in food for your family night so that your families can come in and make smoothies together or make pizzas or do it in that fashion? And really talks about really working from the top down to ensure that you can provide supports for all of your program when it comes to this healthy eating and physical activity, making sure we have materials provided, that we have enough space, working through all of those through that program support. The last one is just environmental. So this talks about the space that we're in. So when we're in a space, are we provided a space that will promote not only healthy eating, but physical activity? Our outdoor space, our classrooms, do we have access to a gym? I know in our program, we're kind of the lowest on the totem pole. So if there's, cheerleading or basketball, or, if it's raining outside and the soccer team has to come inside, if they're having, National Honor Society, we kind of get kicked out of all of possible uses of a gym. So we have to find a way to make our hallways work for physical activity. They've done, tape races down the hallways. They've done scooter races. We've done a number of different ideas just to make that space. And then the other part that I thought was interesting is providing a visual aid. So are we promoting, this physical activity and this healthy eating throughout the school? Do we promote, this being active? Do we promote eating healthy, nutritious foods outside of just the cafeteria? Is it something these kids see often? And then they talk a lot too about just providing equipment for our students. We have physical activity, but are we providing equipment? Jump ropes? Do we have, kickballs? Do we have, I don't know, they almost look like, I don't know, they're like circle and they're like discs, because you can do different things with discs. Do we provide them with different things, one, to be creative with it, and two, to provide an activity of sorts? That was my blank. That's my blank one, Brad. That's my blank space.
All right. So I think we probably all agree that that healthy eating and physical activity are important. And I think we could probably go through each person here and say, do you have recess for your kids? Do you have physical activity? Yes, of course we do. And of course, we're not giving them ice cream and soda every day and those kind of things. I think really what we would like to see come out of this series of presentations that we're doing is some intentionality, so not just going, well, it's in our schedule that the kids come in, they have a snack, they've been in school all day, so they get a snack, and then they go out and they have a recess for 10 or 15 minutes, and then they go do their tutoring, and then they do their enrichment or whatever. But kind of getting a mindset that says, I'm going to be intentional about moving my kids. There was a great example. There was a program in Dixon, their elementary after-school program in Dixon, Missouri. The PE teacher is one of their after-school staff, and she had bought some discs, little flat discs that was laid on the ground, and they had state information. So it was just about it was capitals, population, geography, all those kind of things. So she was having a little game with the kids. The older kids had, I think they were fourth graders maybe, and third graders. So the fourth graders had been through and they had learned all the state capitals. So she paired them with third graders. The kids stood on one end of the gym. She laid the discs on the other end of the gym, and she would say a state, and she would go, Arkansas. And the kids would have to think, okay, Arkansas, what's the capital of Arkansas? Or she would read the state capital, and then the kids would have to run from one end of the gym to the other end, find the state or find the capital, and then, hey, I got it. Okay, that's a point for this team, and then they go back. So they're doing geography lessons, they're learning, but she's also incorporating movement into that. So that it's a mindset, and that's kind of what we're going for. Again, I think it's important what Stephanie said at the beginning. These are recommendations. These are not requirements. This is not one of those things that you go, oh my gosh, I got to do what? You want me to add more? But it's going to be small steps that you go, you know what? We could do intentional activity when we're doing our geography lesson, or we're doing a math lesson, and let's put some things on the floor and make kids doing their addition or their multiplication, make them walk around the room and pick things up and go 3 times 4, how many is that? And go pick up however many that is. You go, okay, I'm back and I got 12. So it's a mindset to get in there and to have with us. So that's kind of what we're going for. Again, not saying do this, but highly recommend that we incorporate this healthy eating and physical activity into our programs and what we do. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put you in breakout rooms, and what I would like to do in the rooms, sorry, I'm doing the math here. So we'll have, we're going to have 7 or 8 people in each room. And what you're going to talk about is, what do you do now beyond just having recess? Because like I said, I think all of us would go, well, of course we do recess. The kids have been cooped up in school all day. But what are you doing intentionally to incorporate healthy eating and physical activity into your program now? And if you're not doing anything intentionally, then have a conversation around what could we do in the future. So for us to be able to learn from each other and go, oh, hey, that's a great idea. Like I said, the program at Dixon, when I saw the teacher doing that, the PE teacher, I was like, that's brilliant. It's so simple. The kids are moving and they're incorporating that movement into their geography or their social studies or their math or whatever. So we're gonna put you all in breakout rooms. I will send an invitation. If you've been here before, you know how that works. If you haven't, you'll get a little invitation that pops up on your screen, says you've been invited to join breakout room 2 or 11 or whatever it is. Just click join and it will send you to a breakout room. Once you get in the breakout room, if you would turn on your camera, so if you have one, so people can see you, unmute yourself. You can just scroll over your picture or your name on your screen, and a little blue button will pop up that says unmute. And then so go ahead and have a conversation. And when you get in your rooms, you go first. Don't wait for somebody else to take a lead or to say, okay, what are we going to talk about? And I'll send you a couple of messages to remind you what we're talking about. If you have some thoughts coming out of your breakout rooms, what was good, some things maybe you learned, you can put that over in the chat box and we can kind of all see that. What we would like to do is to have 3 people talk about what did you talk about in your breakout room around healthy eating and physical activity, whether that is what you're doing now intentionally or what you might do in the future. So I picked some random rooms. So number 7, room 7. Is anybody in room 7 that would like to tell us what did you talk about today? in your breakout room? Healthy eating, physical activity, anybody from room 7? Does anybody remember what room they might have been in? Anybody from room 7? All right, well, I'm going to go. I saw in.
I can speak from room 7.
All right, thank you, Alicia. Go ahead.
That gives me so much joy, Brad. This is like out of her comfort zone.
Yeah, go get it, Alicia. Here we go.
Okay, so we talked about all of the different ways to get our kids moving and incorporate it, like educational elements into it. And then based on like the theme of whatever's going on around you, like one of the ladies said that she did something special for like the Olympics whenever that was going on. And then for my end, we're in the middle school sector, so I do upper level, and I like to kind of gauge how they're doing after school. Sometimes they need a rest, and that's part of their well-being also, but we try to encourage as much physical activity as possible, and if we don't have a gym that day, we improvise, we go for walks, scavenger hunts, whatever we can do to get everyone, you know, up and moving a little bit if they want to or not.
Fantastic, Alicia. Thank you. Yeah, well done. Sounds like it was a good conversation in room 7. What about room 9? Anybody from room 9 want to jump in and just give us a real quick synopsis of what your conversation was? Anybody in room 9? You can unmute yourself. Any 9s?
Yes. So we talked about we were talking about our different programs, like for instance, I'm Kay, I'm with Stray Dogs, and our after school program, we had a Cooking Matters program. So we were able to teach the kids about healthy choices, and they were able to physically fix the food themselves so they can get the taste and learn about good healthy choices and stuff like that. And I also told them that they were like, some kids like all the healthy food just usually goes straight to the trash. You know, they don't eat their vegetables and stuff like that. So I said, we usually do little incentives like, oh, if you eat all your peas today, you get to choose the physical activity that we get to do after lunch or after a snack or whatever. So that's how we incorporated physical activity with healthy eating and stuff like that.
Great. Thank you, Kay. Thank you. And room 11 was on my list, and I have seen room 11 pop up several times in the chat box. So if somebody from room 11 wants to unmute yourself and tell us, what did you all talk about in there?
Well, we talked about incorporating virtual exercise videos for the students.
Okay.
And we also talked about how exercise and eating goes hand in hand with each other, and make sure we not just incorporate physical activity, but also education about what types of food groups that go along and match very well with exercise, so you can get the benefit from both of them. We also talked about frequency healings. So use those frequencies. There's a time we can just listen to those things, and also they help increase our metabolism, increase our circulation. So teaching the kids how to listen and incorporate frequencies as a part of the exercise as well, for those who can't get out and go to the park or go to the gym or don't have the space in the home to be able to really get physical. So we were talking about doing videos and sharing those personally with ourselves and our students, that we can actually show them what we can do at home. They may not even know, hey, you might not have a lot of space, but you can do a couple of jumping jacks in the corner for a little while. Mm-hmm. So just incorporating different ideas and putting them all together. We had a really great session. So we learned a lot from each other.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, and that kind of leads into what we'll talk about next week is incorporating the family. What can you do at home with your mom, with your dad, or just on your own? Like you said, you go do some jumping jacks in the corner. You know, that's part of what we need to have in our lives as far as that fitness thing. So great. I'm glad you all had a good conversation. Sounds like there was lots of back and forth, and obviously y'all are already doing incorporating a lot of the physical activity and the healthy eating in your programs, which is fantastic. So Stephanie, I'm going to turn this back to you. Stephanie's going to talk about the WISC model a little bit and what that is and how we can use it.
Sorry, I was muted. Brad muted me. So the only thing I was going to add to your guys' idea is, and my kids have done it, because you talked about not having a lot of room to do physical activity during this quarantine time and stay at home. My boys have loved Cosmic Kids Yoga. And I don't know if anybody else has ever done Cosmic Kids Yoga in school or even in home, but it is wonderful. And what I like the most about it is it tells a story as it pertains. So there's like a Frozen one. My kids super like the Minecraft. There was one for like Halloween. So it's telling this whole story while it puts them through yoga poses. And I found during the middle of the day when mom wants to take a time out by herself for 5 minutes because, well, I love my children that I say that so much. That was a good way for them to get maybe 10 or 15 minutes where they get to do physical movement and I get to take 10 or 15 minutes and kind of reevaluate and kind of like get my center of balance. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Cosmic Kids Yoga, you can share it with your students still. It's great. It's free. It's on YouTube. They have a whole channel. Yes, my son is starting to get into Pokemon and he's loving the Pokemon Cosmic Kids Yoga. So those are some good ones. So we're going to talk about the WISC model really quick. I know that, so I'm going to share this with you guys. And these are frameworks that are put out by the CDC. And I just snagged this off of the website. I also have, and we will share the links with you guys on the websites for it. But what this is, and I really like this and was telling Brad that I am going to try and either find a way to make maybe some poster size to put in for my staff, or see if we can maybe get some publications out to everybody. But what these are is this is a model for a whole school, whole community, whole child. That's what WISC stands for, whole school, whole community, whole child. And it's the framework. And it's basically saying that if we can do, on the left, it'll say physical environment, social, emotional, climate, counseling, psychological, social services, health service. And so if we can implement all of these, that we will see the positive benefits of doing physical activity and healthy eating in our students by incorporating these. So really what it tells you is like your physical environment, provide access to safe drinking water across the school building before and after school, set up agreements that allow schools and out-of-school programs to share space. A lot of these things we may already be doing or incorporating. I know with programs like Boys and Girls Club, you guys have your own facility. There's also any community-based program or even us within a school. Just really kind of building those positive relationships so that you can have access to space. And then as you go down, these are just different things that we can do to help us create, and this is that kind of overview framework to help us create that WISC model for our students and how they can continue to benefit. So, recognize that the role that staff can play in connecting students and their families with services, promote communication between the school staff and out-of-school time providers to help manage the needs of students with chronic health conditions such as food allergies, diabetes, and asthma. I know many of us, that's a big part of our programs is to continue to provide that linkage and connection to day school. Also talking about, having conversations with maybe your lunch staff and your nursing staff to see what kind of food allergies you may have. We have two students, one I know for sure who has alpha-gal. So when we offer our cooking class, we have to be very aware that he can have no mammal products or byproducts. So we try and alter the food choices we're offering and kind of the stuff that we're cooking so that he can continue to be a part of that, still while eating that healthy, nutritious food. So it's kind of made us think outside of the box. But it goes down. And so it goes down this whole model. And I think it's incredibly important. I really, really like the way that it, really like what it shows and how it offers it. The other one too is and I'm going to grab it. This is the other one that this one talks about physical education and physical activity. So in the same way, right, this is just another framework to provide positive services for our students. And it goes down if you talk about it. Now, this model is not necessarily exactly the same as the out of school time, but it serves incredibly important on some of the things that we can do to continue to promote that positive framework for our students. So even here, like, you know, employee wellness, encourage school staff to model physical activity behaviors, provide staff with access to activity opportunities through staff wellness programs. A lot of districts will offer kind of a wellness program for their staff. I know that ours uses a program where they count steps and activity, active minutes. So these are a couple. I know that we have it in our, I have slides that I'll share with you guys, and I know that in the chat box, we can go in and put in all of the links to it. But that was just some way that we can provide these services and provide kind of some ideas for you guys. And I think that if we can print it out, maybe provide it to our staff members, this is also a really great way for us to say, like, here's a model. Here are things that we're working for. And these are ways that we can help promote these positive, encouraging things just within ourselves and with our students.
All right.
I'm reading, sorry. Box.
Yeah. So, so Audrey asked, can that page be accessed after the webinar? Yes, Stephanie. Well, if you want to post the link to that specific that you just put in there, that would be great. And also, while you're posting stuff over there in the chat box, Stephanie, somebody asked earlier if they could get your email address, because you are the expert. So we're all coming to you with our questions. So,
I mean, I really like to find answers, so I'm totally okay with that.
Good. Yeah, so if you have questions, we're gonna share a resource slide here in just a second. I'll let Stephanie get her email address in the chat box. Actually, Steph, if you want to just share, are you sharing that other link?
Yep, give me just 1 second.
Okay, and then I can put your address in there.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you want me to, and if you want to go ahead and share that last slide with the resources.
I will right now. So I put it in the chat box really quick. This is where I got the WISC model from. It's the CDC website. So it's all right here, and you guys can just download the WISC. This link right here, because this right here, these are where we kind of got our resources. So the National After School Association website has the HEPA standards in a PDF version. You can download that, and it's got all of the little breakdowns inside of it. You can also, on that National After School Association website, it also has articles, different resources, ideas for implementation. The WISC resources are on the CDC website. I shared that with you guys, and it gives really great breakdowns inside of it. And then the Alliance for Healthier Generation. I was telling Brad about this earlier. I really like this resource because sometimes I will get so inundated with all different ideas that it's almost overwhelming. This Alliance for Healthier Generation gives really awesome resources and tools, but it breaks it down step by step. So, hey, you want to do this? Here's 3 or 4 different things that you can do. Oh, by the way, these are what you're going to need. Oh, by the way, this is exactly what you're going to have to do. I really appreciate that sometimes, just because I get a little bit caught up on so much other things. And so having that resource there was pretty neat for me. So these are the 3 resources. And if for some reason you guys need them after, we can always put them in the chat box. If my email's there, you're welcome to send me an email. I am a share everything kind of a person. So I will absolutely share any resources that I have with you guys. So you have all of that.
Yeah, and we'll post this slide deck on the MASN website, so you'll be able to access it then. So if you don't catch the links in the chat box, and you didn't get them written down or take a picture of them or whatever there, then they will be on the website when we're done today. So any questions for Stephanie or for myself? Laura is here for the next few minutes. Laura, do you want to just say hello and tell us, I know you posted in the chat box, but maybe people didn't catch it. Tell us what your role is at DESE. There you go. Go ahead, Laura. Nope, still can't hear you. All right. We'll work on getting some audio for Laura.
I almost want to call her and put her on speaker.
I know. Laura's pretty fantastic. So she has kind of walked us through this whole process and has been great to work with. So we'll see what we can do to get you to be able to hear from her next week on our session. So
Right.
but I know she does have to run at 4 o'clock. So any questions for Stephanie or myself before we kind of wrap up? You can put it in the chat box if you want to unmute yourself. All right. So I'm not seeing any questions pop up. So, all right. So we will next Tuesday, same time, we'll have part 2 of this series. Talking about community engagement. How do we get some of those partners, healthy eating, physical activity partners into our programs, what they might bring to us? How can we help the kids take this home and involve their families and get families involved with these standards? And again, recommendations, not requirements, and we'll take little steps and we'll get there. So it's just changing our mindset and trying to be intentional about bringing this into, as part of education, part of what the kids are learning. Yes, they're learning math. Yes, they're learning how to read and write, but they're also learning, how do I take care of my body? How am I healthy for life? Not just because I have to pass a presidential fitness test, but how am I still healthy when I'm 55? Because I learned that in my after school program. Miss Stephanie or Miss Linda or Mr. Mark or whoever taught me, oh, this is how I need to eat to be healthy. This is how I need to move my body to be healthy. So that's what we're working toward. So still didn't see any questions. So Stephanie, thank you so much for guiding us through it today. And we will tomorrow, just in case you want to join us tomorrow at 3 o'clock, Teresa Metz from the Bridge, which is in the Department of Education here at the University of Missouri, talking about equity and diversity. Pretty relevant topic these days. So she's going to talk to us just about how we can kind of pay attention to some things that we do personally and in our programs and those kind of things. I think it'll be really good. 3 o'clock tomorrow. The registration link went out yesterday, I think. So if you can, please join us then. And nothing else. All right. So you all have a great afternoon. Thanks for being here with us. I'm going to wave. I read something yesterday that somebody posted and they said, you know what? I have never left a meeting in person and waved at the people that were in the room with me. But we all do it, don't we? We're like, okay, see you guys. But we're not really in the same room. But anyway, so glad you all joined us, and we'll see you either tomorrow or next week. Have a great afternoon.
Bye, guys.
But when we're back in person, I'm going to start waving when I leave a room now, too.
I would. I'd be like,
yeah. All right. It was a good meeting. We'll see you guys. Yes. The princess wave, Audrey. I see you. All right. Y'all have a great day.
see ya.